Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we are continuing our series on the Electric Light Orchestra. Tonight we're taking a look at Face the Music from 1975 and a new world record from 1976. We want to hear from you in the chat. Let's do this.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Hey everybody, we are live. Yes, Logan, I hit the button. He's never going to let me live that down. You know, that's the way he is. Anyway, yes, we are live. It's yet another episode of the Electric Light Orchestra series. And tonight, look, Webb's here too. And along with the Parish and Marco from the Contrarians. So, gentlemen, how are you tonight? How's everything going?
Very good.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready. What is Logan? Damn straight, never living that. You're not. You're going to bring it up every show. Because every time, if I make one mistake, Logan will never let me live it down. You know?
Well, that was his best intro he ever did, and then it never really
we're
happened.
live. We're live. It says live. Stop it. All right, everybody. Well, we're going to keep it loose. We want to hear from you in the chat, and we'll do this like we normally do it. It's kind of like a Dark Horse episode or a one and done, and we will go to you at the end and get your rating out of 10. But meanwhile, we're going to throw it around to the panel, and I'm going to go the way I see it. I'm going to go Webb, Marco, the Parish, and myself, and we're just going to go around. Or do you what? What do you want to do? Or Marco, do you have anything you want to like start out with? Maybe we should start with you.
I have some notes about what was going on at the time.
Well, why don't we do this? We'll start out with Marco because he's kind of he's like Mr. ELO. So we'll go Marco, Webb, and then the Parish, and wrap around, and we'll just talk about the wreck. It's loose. You know how it works here at Warehouse. Jeez, everybody. Go ahead, Marco. What you got? I'm gonna fix the shot so it looks like you're talking over the text.
Oh, that's what that thing is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
it looks
chat.
like there's something dividing my screen or something. Cool. All right, folks. Thanks, Grant, for having me on.
Sure.
I'm a big ELO fan. I've read a couple of books now. I'm reading this one right now, which is Jeff Lynne, The Electric Light Orchestra, Before and After, written by John Vanderkist. And I also read another book from the same author about Roy Wood and the move. They talked about the move and ELO and all those years and stuff like that, and Wizard and all that stuff. Big Roy Wood fan, big ELO fan. Yeah, so around this time, ELO is going through another transition period. I had kind of mentioned this last time because it was kind of relevant, but Mike DeAlbuquerque is out of the band during the recordings of El Dorado, and which is interesting because the same thing kind of happened during ELO 2 when Roy Wood left, which required Jeff Lynne to fill in on bass parts on most of the album. After Michael DeAlbuquerque left, they replaced him with Kelly Grucut, who actually takes some lead vocals on some of the songs on the albums that we're going to talk about, which is interesting. And you'll see he started performing with ELO during the El Dorado tour. I don't think he actually played on El Dorado, though. Kelly Grucut is an excellent addition to the band. He would do two-part harmonies and some lead vocals and stuff like this. You'll see him if you look at Knight Rider Live on YouTube. From the time, you'll see him singing the second part live, the second lead. Anyways, that's Kelly Grucut. He would play bass on Face the Music, which came out around this time. This was mostly recorded in Munich after a conversation with Deep Purple, because ELO, I guess, had played some live dates with Deep Purple. And they recorded most of this at Musicland Studios in Munich. They finished the album in New York. So last time I think we were talking, I had mentioned that El Dorado was the last record that they recorded in Britain. And then after that, they recorded overseas because they ran into a bunch of issues with unions and things like this because they were bringing in orchestras and stuff on the last album. And I think Jeff Lynne got fed up. He also wasn't, ELO wasn't as popular in Britain as they were in the States. They were actually getting a lot more successful in the States. Yeah, so Face the Music came out. It was the first top 10 US album. It hit number 8. Yeah, there's a bunch of great songs on this. It opens with hold on just a second here. So we got Fire on High. That's the one that has the backwards vocals on it, and that's Bev Bevan recording a message backwards, which is on. You can read about that. I got a lot of this information out of this book, and I double checked. I was reading stuff on Wikipedia. A lot of it matched up. So a lot of the stuff that you'll read on Wikipedia is also in this book as well. So Bev Bevan, you'll hear him on that first one. Jeff Lynne apparently wrote Evil Woman in like 5 minutes or something like this. Yeah, great album. Lots of great songs on this. They ended up touring for this. A number of bands opened for ELO on this tour, including, which is interesting if folks aren't aware, BTO opened for BTO, Journey, Roxy Music, Little Feat all opened for ELO on different dates during this tour, which is interesting. Some of amazing shows. And yeah, you can see on the album cover, there's the electric chair. Supposedly they wanted to actually show somebody electrocuted on it. You can hardly make out. That's, I guess somebody had been electrocuted or something on there, but I think they changed it because it was graphic. And on the back, you'll see all the members there. They're supposed to be looking through the glass, watching the execution. There's a funny story about Richard Tandy's the only one who's looking away because he didn't find the cover to be tasteful. Anyways, great. Do you want my rating now? Because great album, lots of great tracks on here. A couple of underrated tracks. One Summer Dream, Poker, Down Hometown is a great tune. That's an underrated one. Night Riders, one of my top ELO tracks of all time. I think it's a great album. If you want my rating on it,
sure. Rating out of 10. Why not?
See, like objectively, I think this is better than ELO 2. I think it sounds better.
Oh yeah,
I really like ELO 2. I gave ELO 2 a 7.5. Objectively, I would say this is better and probably give it an 8. And the reason I say that is because I think I gave On the Third Day like a 9 and El Dorado like a 8.5, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I would fit this in at about an 8. I like it, but I still like On the Third Day a little bit better. I like some of those. Bluebird is Dead, and what was that other song? Showdown. Better than some of the songs on here. Evil Woman is, maybe it's my fault that's a little bit overplayed, but I think it's one of their probably most popular, well-known songs ever, and I think it's a great tune. But I think some of the songs on here, maybe it's my fault, a little more overplayed for me. So I still prefer On the Third Day to this one, but I think this is a great album, and I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
So
produced by Jeff Lynne.
All right, cool. Does anybody here have the first edition CD of this? When it first was released on CD, they used a DJ, they used a radio edit tape. So all the, where all the songs segue into each other, there are no segues. All the songs are like by themselves. So if you get like the first pressing of it, it's set up. That's the one I've got. And it sounds fine. It's very warm sounding, but it has none of the segues and it's just the songs by themselves. Pretty wild. So look for it's easy to find. It'd be the one that says made in Japan. Like on the one in the States, the first one that was made in Japan would have the original, that mix of it. But they pulled that after a while. Anyway, a little bit of trivia. There you go.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Marco. So we have an 8 so far. I'm going to throw over to Webb. Webb, what's your thoughts on this record?
Well, I really love this record. I would probably rate it as my number 2 ELO. And, it's this more radio friendly pop rock record. I like the sound of it. It was probably Evil Woman was probably the first song I heard by ELO, and it instantly hooked me in. This album did really well in the US, but it didn't, like Marco was saying, it didn't do very well in the UK, which is kind of crazy. Maybe Parish has some insight on that. But I'm going to go through the song. I'm not going to go through every song, but I'll go through some of the songs. Fire on High, that's just a great opener. It takes 2.5 minutes to kick in, but the backwards speaking thing is really cool. I was in college at 36 years when I listened to that on a little bit of psychedelics. I'm just going to reveal, and it was really cool to listen to that song. I'm going to tell you. And I love when it kicks in, Explosive Fills by Bev. He's just awesome. And that acoustic strumming is just unbelievable. I loved it. I never heard anything like it. Waterfall is a cool song. I haven't really listened to that one too much, but it's a good contrast to the first song, and it's a good song. I mean, it's classic ELO. Evil Woman, very catchy. Like we said, everybody knows it. It's on the radio all the time. Sticks in your head. Got to number 10 in the US and the UK. So it's top 10 hit. And like Marco said, written at the last minute to fill up the album. So isn't that crazy how that works? Ends up being one of their, biggest hits ever. Night Rider's a solid song. And that's shared lead vocals with Kelly and Jeff, like Marco was talking about how Kelly starts singing. And I just think it's a good song. Poker. And when we did the top 10 ELO songs, Poker, it was in my top 5. I just love that song, upbeat. I think Parish likes it a lot too. And it's just, Kelly singing it. I love his voice on it. Has that cool halftime break, and Bevan's doing some Bonham-esque drum fills. He's all over it in that one. And it's just one of my favorite songs by those guys. And Strange Magic was a radio ballad hit. Does anybody ever seen the movie Virgin Suicides?
I have not.
Oh, it's a great movie. Oh God, come on, guys. Well, it takes place in '76, and they play Strange Magic at the prom in that. And it's just a perfectly placed song in that movie. I recommend that movie. It's a hell of a movie.
All right.
Yeah, Strange Magic. I mean, it hit 14 in the US. It was another big hit. And then Down Hometown has a country vibe. It's pretty cool. It didn't grab me very much, but One Summer Dream, I had that in my top 10, and that is just, I absolutely love that song. It's just hypnotic. It's ethereal. It just has that dreamlike state, just like One Summer Dream. It kind of has that. I just love the feel of that song, and it just relaxes me. And then I noted that Jeff Lynne's dad said that was one of his favorite songs that his son ever wrote. Oh my God. So I'll give you my ranking. You ready?
Yeah, I'm always ready.
I know you're ready. I'm going to give it, because it's my second favorite ELO record, and I'm going to give it a solid 9.
There you go.
I like it. I just
All
like
right.
the record.
Cool. Well, we're going to throw it over. Thank you, Webb, by the way. We're going to throw it over to the Parish of Rock and get his take on it. Parish, why didn't ELO take off in the UK? Tell us. We want to know.
Yeah.
Why?
Because in 1976, the charts in the UK were fucking crap.
Well,
75, 75. Yeah, but the singles came out in 76, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we just went through a bad phase of music, I think, in the mid-70s. We had a great phase in the early 70s, a great phase in later. But I always think our low point for taste in popular music was in 75, 76. I can tell you why they took off with the next album, but I'll wait until we get to the next album for that reason.
Okay.
I mean, you said about having an original edition of the CD. I don't, but I do have an original edition of the LP. So this is the version my brother bought. I nicked it off him back in the day on Jet Records. So that's the inner sleeve.
Yeah, I love it.
So, I always thought the front, I mean, getting a bit macabre now, but I always thought that was supposed to portray that they'd been fried, basically, and disappeared. That's why you can't see anybody in the chair. And you've sort of got
They turned up the voltage.
They turned it up a bit too high, yeah. I always think of this as quite interesting. So I think of ELO in 3 phases, really. I think of, and it's a bit like Sweet, that you've got the sweet shop, then you've got the sweet, and then you've got Sweet, if you look over their albums. And ELO, I think it's the same. You've got the first few albums I think of as the Electric Light Orchestra. And if you look, that's how they're pitched. With this album, they're actually just electric like orchestra. So it's a new phase. And then later, they're essentially just ELO. And then ultimately, Jeff Lynne's ELO. So there's actually, I think, a migration in the band with the musical styles. Whether that was intended or just with the benefit of hindsight, you can see these differences. So I really like this album, but I do think it has a low point. And I'm going to start with the low point. I absolutely detest Down Hometown. It's not my least favourite ELO song, but it's certainly my second least favourite of the 70s. And the reason for it is mainly the Bob Dylan-esque vocals. I can't stand Dylan. I think he's trying to sing like Dylan. And I'm not generally a big fan of Celtic folk either. So you combine a bit of Celtic folk with Bob Dylan vocals, so it's going to turn me off, I'm afraid. So that to me is the low point. But if you then go to the high points, Fire and Ice, in some ways, I think actually sums ELO up in one song. You've got that kind of epic classical start. You've got the operatic vocals on it. You then get the strings going into the keyboards, which are tiny keyboards. Then it goes into the rock guitar. You then get Bevan's thunderous drums kicking in. So almost in one song, you've got ELO summed up. Certainly 70s ELO summed. The only thing it's missing really is the vocoder. That's about the only thing it hasn't got that ELO of the 70s would have. So to me, it kind of sums them up. Evil Woman, I think it's all been said before on this show, and when we did the top 10, it's their hard rock song. It's catchy. No, it did chart over here. That was a number 10 hit. So quite why that didn't drive the album. I mean, the album didn't chart at all in the UK. So it wasn't a minor hit.
It didn't chart at all?
It didn't chart at all.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
So bearing in mind that it had a top 10 single, you would have thought that would have, even if it was the lower reaches of the chart. Poker, I think most, if not everybody, had that in their top 10 when we did the top 10. I think we all thought it was going to be sort of a hidden gem, and we all kind of identified it as one of our favourites. Again, a great heavy rock sort of, maybe even ELO's heaviest rock song in my view. And then you've got Strange Magic is just, I think, a brilliant pop song. But that barely dented the chart. I mean, that got to 38 in the UK. And in at the time, around 75, 76, the UK only really talked about the top 30 onwards. The top 40 came later in the decade. So it wouldn't have been viewed as a chart single because it didn't get into the top 30. So, but it did have, as I say, it did have Evil Woman get to number 10. So it is a bit of a surprise that the album didn't do better. Maybe the album cover theme didn't help. I don't know. And the back cover, I mean, I never realised that was supposed to be them looking through the glass. I just thought.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I thought it was just a goofy picture, to be honest, particularly with the way the eyes are done. So, but anyway, yeah, a bit of a surprise, but all comes good with the next one as far as charts are concerned.
All right.
And in answer to that question about Roy Wood,
that's a good question.
I mean, he was with Wizzard more popular, but for a very short period. But by the time of 75, 76, Roy Wood's popularity had kind of dipped as well.
Because didn't Mustard come out in 75?
I think
I love Mustard.
Post 76, I don't think Roy Wood ever had a chart-topping single post 76. I think that was the end of it for him, basically. But when Roy left ELO, I'll put it this way: when Roy left ELO, I think the press would have attached their bandwagon to Roy instead of Jeff. If you were going to bet at the time who would have been the success, I think everyone was looking to Roy to be a success, and they thought ELO was just going to fade away without Roy. So at that time, and even when Roy was in the band, I mean, when they did interviews, people wouldn't even talk to Jeff. They would just talk directly to Roy, and they would credit songs written to Jeff by Roy, things like that. So it was, at the time, Roy was more popular than Jeff when ELO started, for sure.
Oh, well, he, just from the move and everything, it was just like, well, the move was a monster. you know, and Roy just had this pedigree of just, you know, I could see that because the move was always more popular than the idle race ever was, you know.
But by this time, it was Wizard, wasn't it? I mean, Roy Wood
Yeah.
it would have been. I'm just having a look to see when the last Wizard hit was.
Yeah, and Wizard was a big singles band. Wizard had the number one single. ELO didn't at the time, right? So yeah, you probably could argue Roy Wood and Wizard were more popular than ELO at the time, but very shortly after, it would be completely different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, so Wizard's hits really stopped in '74.
Yeah.
okay.
So the last hit was '74. Well, yeah,
I think he had a top 10 with Forever, which was a solo single. And then I think after that, it kind of dried up. I think there was
Forever.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is just top-notch Roy Wood. And boy, by the time he does that, he is so into the Beach Boys. Good Lord.
Brian Wilson loved that song, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
He played it on repeat. His kids knew it.
Yeah, I believe it.
And he had 2 number ones in the UK, or Wizard did, See My Baby Jive and Angel Fingers. But the song everybody remembers of Roy Wood and Wizard is Over Here, is I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, which every year it gets played to death. You can't avoid it. So.
Yeah. All right, so Parish, what would you rate this out of 10?
I'd give it an 8. I mean, to be honest, it's Down Hometown which drags down my score a bit.
Yeah.
Everything else, I think it's really, almost perfect. But that one song, so yeah, 8 out of 10.
Yeah. You like One Summer Dream? I remember you saying that on the song.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think the rest of the album is really good. Take that off the album, I might have given it a 9 or a 10.
Well, this is kind of how I look at this record. I think what's really good, I'm kind of like with the Parish on this, because I think as if you take the tracks apart by them, I don't look at this so much as an album as more of like a collection of tracks. But down hometown, yeah, I'm not into that. But what's really great on here is really great. But what's really not great on here is, well, not very good. But Fire on High is a great way to start out. Evil Woman, of course, is classic. Night Rider's great. Poker's great. Strange Magic, but then it kind of it loses steam on side 2 as far as I'm concerned. So, where I look at El Dorado, that just seems like a whole cohesive record to me. And this just seems like a collection of tracks, but there are some great tracks. So if I would rate this out of 10, go ahead.
No, you go. You rate it.
I'm with you, Parish. I'm with Webb. I'm with Marco and Parish. I'd give this an 8. It's not a perfect ELO album. I mean, at the time, it kind of had mixed reviews. And I think it's aged a lot better over the years. And I just think people looked at it. Well, Rolling Stone, for one, thought it was a bit spotty. So we're not the only ones. Not that Rolling Stone knows everything. So what were you going to say, Parish? Sorry.
I was going to say that Night Rider. So there's certain things you never want to hear your parents say, isn't it? Particularly when you're sort of an 11, 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And my elder brother so we only had one record player in the house. It's in the main sitting room. Mm-hmm. And my brother's playing this album and he's playing Night Rider. And my mum goes, "What's that song called?" And he goes, "Night Rider." And my mum, bearing in mind it's my mum, goes, "Why are they singing a song about a condom?"
Is that what a condom's called? A Night Rider?
No idea. But that's not what you want to hear your mum saying when you're 10 years old, I can tell you.
No, you probably left the room.
You found out.
So the first thing is, it scarred me for life that she said it, but I can't now hear the song without thinking about my mum making that comment. So 50 years later, I'm still scarred to life over it.
Yeah,
now we're gonna laugh about it every time we.
I didn't know a Night Rider was a condom.
Well, I don't know if it is, but she obviously thought it sounded like one.
Maybe it was a brand of condom.
Yeah, maybe.
Night Rider.
Knight Rider.
But how my mum would have known about it, I don't want to think about.
Yeah, I understand.
Oh God.
Okay, so everybody in the chat that knows this record, yeah, we're good. We got 5 minutes. I want to know if you know this record. Now's your time to shine. I want to know what your rating is out of 10, so we can compile this. Cream Magazine, Lester Bangs. What did Lester Bangs was he still alive? Yeah, he was alive. What did Lester Bangs think about this record? I'd like to know.
He was probably curmudgeonly.
8. We got an 8.7 from the Doc. All right, Doc.
Ooh, jukebox.
9. We got a 9.
A lot of 9s.
A lot of 9s. Another 9. We got Jukebox is giving it a 6. Jukebox, come on.
Jukebox.
That's all right. We all hear this. Cretin, look at this. Cretin's going an 8.5. Let it shine, Cretin.
Cretin knows.
Cretin evidently knows something. Al's going 9. Logan's a solid 8. Gary Joyce, the principal, 8.25. The 1977. I have no idea, but this person possibly might be a Styx fan. I don't want to go. I don't want to make an opinion, but I think maybe 7.7. That's the first 7.7 we've ever had.
That's somebody new on the chat, right? I've never seen.
Probably saw my Styx review.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You have a new fan, Grant.
Well, good. I need more of the fans I can get. 8 point. Greg's got an 8.5. All right. Ultraviolet 7.5. God, you people are cranking. Logan, I got that. I got you. I got you. 8. All right. Oh, look at Jukebox Cowboy. Sorry, guys, those are not their best singles. And Down Hometown is horrible. It has some 5-star songs and it kicks off fine and dandy, but yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. Jeff Kendall coming in with an 8. All right. I guess, is that it? Everybody got your score in? This record's looking pretty damn good, I have to admit. All right, I'm going to tally.
I'm going to say 8.5 or 8.
We got it. We got an 8.2.
Ooh, it's close.
I'm happy with that. Panel, you happy with that? I mean, I said 8.
I said 8. So.
All right. I guess we're all on the same page on this record.
I was high. I was a little high.
I'm actually surprised it came out this high, but maybe, I don't know. Like I said, what's really good on here is just fantastic. But it seems like, Jeff Patterson's coming in with a okay, you're going to give me the 8 now for that. All right, so we have a 6.5. It's really not going to change it very much, but I'll take it just to be accurate. So we're we're still in an 8.1.
Marco's just pissed off that I didn't like
Down Hometown.
I know Marco liked Down Hometown.
I don't mind it. Yeah, I like that too.
I don't know.
I like it more than some of the other songs on there.
I think you've got a better taste in music than I have, so you're probably right.
No. The weird thing is, in this book here, it says that Kelly Grucut sings Down Hometown, but I didn't find that information anywhere else. I'm pretty sure it's Jeff. It sounds like Jeff.
It sounds like Jeff doing a Bob Dylan to me, because he does that on a couple of occasions through his career. So.
All right.
The opening lyric, yeah.
Now we're down to an 8.0. It's going down.
That's right. Let's move on.
That's about right. Mr. BM showing up late as usual.
Subjectively, like I said, ELO 2. Like I think this is objectively better than the first 2 albums. Subjectively, I kind of like the first 2 albums better. Like Kuyama's one of my top songs. Yeah. I like, even though the first album's kind of weird, I like it. Objectively though, I think it sounds better. I think there's better.
Well, it's a different kind of album. I mean, this is more. I mean, there's more. It's a little more radio, a little more accessible, I think. Than the first.
I agree.
Real proggy, yeah.
Yeah, well, we're getting more radio accessible as we keep going.
And we're about to get very radio accessible.
All right, so we've got an 8, a solid 8. Well, actually, it's an 8.1. It's still an 8.1. I'm going with 8.1.
It's above 8.
I mean, if I round it up. BM Bolt says the missus likes ELO, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jeff Lynne was doing a John Lennon doing a Bob Dylan
Yeah, probably.
impression. Al, that's perfect.
That sounds right.
Perfect. I think you're right. All right, the next record. Let's throw it over to Marco. Marco, take it away.
Yeah, so the next album that comes out in 76, and that's a New World Record, which is named, apparently they named it that while they were watching the Montreal Olympics. Again, I'm getting all this information out of this book, folks. So apparently they were watching the Montreal Olympics, and that's where they came up with the New World Record title. The front cover shows that jukebox logo with the ELO on it. I think for the first time, that's the first time you see that logo kind of pop up. And yeah, this is a huge record. Like I think this is their best sounding album to this point. I think it sounds the best. I think the songs are fantastic. I think this is almost like a perfect album. Yeah, again, produced by Jeff Lynne. So he's getting better. I think Kelly Grucut's now like fully in the band and recording with the band. Now they're bringing like opera singers and an orchestra in to sing background and stuff like this. I think they're transitioning. I like what Parish said about the band kind of like having these different phases. And it really kind of feels like up to this point, there really wasn't a solid band. There was always somebody coming in and out. There was always transitioning happening. You know what I mean? Roy left and Mike DeAlbuquerque left. And you know what I mean? Jeff was always trying to fill in on instruments and stuff like this. Jeff becomes the main songwriter at this point. Living Thing was ELO's best home charting single, hitting number 4. New World Record peaked at number 6 and number 5 in Britain and the US. Rock Area and Telephone Line were both top 10 singles. Do Ya was a hit in the US. Tightrope and So Fine could have also been singles if they wanted to keep pushing more singles, or if there was a need to release more. I think they could have put those out as singles as well. Yeah, so just in terms of this like track lineup, I think this is an incredible. I think this is a better album than Face the Music. And I would probably give this more like an 8.5 or a 9 even. I think this is a fantastic album. The interesting thing for me is the weak point about one of the things, I mean, like some of the slower stuff I'm not a huge fan of, but I like pretty much 4 out of 5 tracks on both sides. I don't like Do Ya. I know that's one of their like big songs. It's the only Move song that they do as ELO. They do it live. I don't really like it as a Move song, and I don't really like it as an ELO.
You don't like it as a Move song?
No, I'm not a bit. I don't know why.
Okay. I like Do Ya, but I don't know. Well, we'll get to it.
I actually kind of prefer Ace's version the best, to be honest. His voice kind of just fits it.
Todd Rundgren and Utopia's version.
I love the Move, and I love ELO, and I just never really. I don't know.
So is that a case of Ace the Music then?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, there's some fantastic tunes on here. Telephone Line is one of their biggest hits. Rock Area is excellent. Rock Area is excellent. So Fine is great. That's an underrated tune on this one. Shangri-La is cool. There's a lot of good tracks on here.
Shangri-La.
Tightrope, the opening track. I think that one and Poker, I think, were my honorable mentions for the top 10. I think they were like right there and could have switched out with whatever. I might have put Tightrope as number 10. Actually, that's a great opener. And at this time, because I like to bring up, I'm a big Roy Wood fan, and I like to kind of bring up how these Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne keep crossing paths over the years. And apparently at this time, there was a movie that came out called All This in World War II. It was a musical movie about the Beatles. I don't know anything about the movie, but there was a soundtrack that accompanied it that had a bunch of famous musicians paying tribute to the Beatles on the soundtrack. And Roy Wood and Jeff Lynne both appear on that soundtrack right around this time, 76. Covering different songs from the Beatles, but they both appeared on that tribute album around the same time, which is interesting. You can kind of go throughout the years and see how they kind of just miss each other or play the same. Wizard was playing the same shows as ELO and stuff like this, so they were seeing each other they were recording in the same studios at sometimes, and would see each other around. So that's something that I found neat about this time.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jeff had a single, his own solo single. Doing that crazy thing.
I've
which
got,
was like a
you know
disco
what?
hit. Well, it wasn't
I
a hit, but it
found
was a
that.
disco song.
I found that on a 12-inch in the dollar bins, or it might have been 50 cents. Oh, I totally
Hey,
forgot, but I have it. I should have pulled it. And it's got a whole sleeve and everything, but it's a disco. It's a disco.
It's super
Jeff
disco,
Lynne's
yeah.
solo disco single.
Well, if you saw it when Parish mentioned Angel Fingers and See My Baby Jive, I was looking around because I showed it on the last one, but I have the 7-inch Angel Fingers vinyl, which I showed on the last video. If folks check out the El Dorado on the third day, you'll see me show the Angel Fingers Wizard single. Anyway, so yeah, I'll give it a 9. I think subjectively, I like On the Third Day a little bit better. I think it's just personally wise, but I think this is a fantastic album. It deserves a 9 for sure. It's one of their best.
Hey, Dave, nice to see you. How are you doing? Nice to see you. Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah.
But I do want to extend thanks everybody for tuning in, because without you, well, we'd just be 4 guys sitting here talking to amongst ourselves, but we'd still be here doing it. But it's always fun that everybody's here and we can talk ELO and hell, just talk music in general. I do appreciate everybody coming by. All right. I'm going to throw it over to Webb. Webb, you ready? What's your thoughts on this?
Oh, I'm ready. And I might get excited about this one. I love this album. This is my favorite. So, it's going to be ranked high. October 76 release, and that's when Living Thing was released as a single. And from that point on till probably the end of 79, ELO was on the radio all the time. They were on the radio. I mean, single after single after single up through Out of the Blue into Discovery, everything. It was just couldn't get away from. It sold 5 million worldwide in the first year. So I'm gonna give a little bit of facts here. I mean, it was their major, I think, world breakout album. Tightrope starts it out, another solid opener. I mean, that the dramatic buildup is awesome, and it kicks in with that cool guitar riff and the little shuffle beat. And I mean, it's just, they said it was performed at every show since then. Even the 2001 Zoom tour, it's been performed at every show. I love that. Won't somebody throw me down the line? That's a cool lyric. And I'm hearing, okay, so help me out on this.
All right.
His vocal delivery during the verse reminds me of Instant Karma vocal delivery during the verse. You got to think about it, but it's there.
It could be.
Yeah, it's there. I think it's there. And then the orchestra don't is a little bit of She's So Heavy. It's a little bit of She's So Heavy, Beatles.
Well, there's always Beatles in here.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. It just caught me. I mean, after listening to it for the 100th time, it caught me. Telephone, and it slips right in Telephone Line with the dial tone. And when you hear that on the radio, I was 7 years old when this came out. Yeah, 7.5, I guess. And I just remember thinking that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard. And I mean, it hooked you in. My neighbor had the 45. We played it all the time. It's just what a great song. And I think it was this on the radio all summer of 77, because I think it was like the 3rd single released. So just a killer song. And then it goes into Rock Area, and Marco said he loves that one. It's a good one. It's like a homage to the old. It mentions a bunch of old rock and rollers from the 50s and 60s. I think it's pretty cool. Mission is Prague, is a little bit of Prague for them. I think that's a cool tune, and it has that spacey feeling. And I think there's kind of a theme of a spacey feeling through this whole album. I don't know. I think I heard it. So Fine, like Marco said, that could have been that's a single that it could have been one. It wasn't, but it could have been. And the string line, the horn line is Soul Man. It's exactly Soul Man coming to you on a dusty road. And it's just a great song. Jeff Lynne's is the master songwriter, and he just really gelled on this album, and the whole band did, like Marco was saying. Living Thing was the first single. When I heard that and that Spanish kind of sounding orchestration, I was like, what is this? And then it kicks into the verse, and it's just so smooth. And it's just that acoustic guitar over the top is just it's just floating. I just love it. And I heard Marco say something about the ranking, but I saw that it only got to 13 in the US, and it got to It got to number 4 in the UK. I don't know how it didn't get higher than 13.
Yeah, I got my numbers from this book, so.
Okay, yeah, I was just looking at Wiki.
Which,
It had
which might not be correct.
Yeah, it had US 13, UK 4, Canada 8. And I was just like, there's 12 songs better than that when it came out. Do Ya, I know, and Marco just said he doesn't like Do Ya, but it's about my favorite song by them. I like the Move version. I like this version. I just think that riff is awesome. Ace's cover is awesome though. But you know, it only got to 24. I don't know. So it's kind of a flop, and it didn't chart in the UK. Maybe they said, they already did it with
it wasn't released in the UK.
Well, then that's why it didn't chart.
Yeah.
That maybe had something to do with it.
Well, there you go. See, that's why Parish is down. That's why Parish is here. And,
but as an aside, what I found interesting is that Rock Aria wasn't released in the US. So they released Do You in the US and Rock Aria in the UK.
Yep. And
didn't Do Ya do something for the Move as a single in the States?
It did, yeah. Yeah, the Move, it was a hit. It was a minor hit, I think, in the UK for the Move, but they didn't release it as a single for ELO.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to look it up.
Yeah, and it didn't. It only got to 23 in Canada. So, I mean, it was kind of like 24 is a hit, but it's not a huge hit. So it kind of flopped almost. And then the album closes out with Shangri-La, which is another kind of has a proggy feel. I love it. This album is just the way it sounds, the production. I know Logan is big on production. So Logan, if you're listening.
No, Logan doesn't care about production.
I know, and I'm being completely sarcastic.
Oh, okay.
You should be able to tell by the inflection of my voice.
I can't, Webb. I can't.
Oh, God. Okay. So I love this album. It's my favorite. Like I said, I was 7. When ELO hit big in the US, I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. And so, riding around in the car with my parents, and ELO was all over the radio. And I just thought they were just the most unique band that was out there at the time, it seemed like to me. So I'm giving it 9.5.
Ooh.
I almost said 9.90125. No, but let's do 9.5.
No, that's fine.
If it's my favorite, I'm going to give it a 9.5. Okay. And I can listen to it anytime, any day, and I love it. And there you go.
This is often thought as the peak.
Yeah.
I mean, usually the reviews at the time thought that this is it.
Yeah, the world map.
And after that, and then we started going down.
Can I say something real quick? I know Surrender it was added to the 2006 reissue, and it charted in 2006. And I don't know if you guys have heard that. It's a cool song. It sounds like a single, and it was a bonus track on the 2006 reissue. It was left off the album, and I think it's catchy as hell song. That could have been another radio hit. So there you go.
Yeah, Logan, I couldn't have waited for Davey because that would be so far down the line that you got to jump on this stuff. Hey, man, I got the CD. Let's go talk about it now, baby. That's how I roll. Hey, we beat Sea Tranquility. That's all that matters.
Beat the king.
I'm not into competition, but I'm just saying. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep going. So Webb is going to give it a 9.5. I'm going to throw it over to the Parish of Rock.
Okay, so I think there are good albums. I think there are great albums. I think there are excellent albums. And every now and then, there's what I would call a genius album. And I think this is a genius album. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. I just think I can't really say much more than that. I think it's genius. Right from the word go with the album title. So yes, it's to do with the Olympics, new world record, but it's not just that. I mean, at the time, I thought it was called a new world record linked to Mission, a world record with this spacey feel. They've gone to a new planet. It's a kind of a new world as a record for the new world, if you like, that they've gone to. That's what I thought it meant at the time with the Mission. You could say this was the album that took them to worldwide status. So you could say it's a new world record because it was their first worldwide success. So the title for me sits there in different levels. And then I think you've got the first 3 songs are potentially the best 3 songs in any album ever, in my view. So Tightrope I think is amazing. It starts with the big strings and the big arrangements as they normally do on the first album. And then it all of a sudden kicks into a rock and roll song. And it almost feels as if at that point that maybe Roy Wood had stepped back into the studio with that guitar and that kind of rock and roll feel to it. Then you've got the song that all of you call Telephone Line. But as I said on the greatest hits, in my family, it's known as Terrible Wife, because that's what my son thought he sang all the way through it. So, and once you hear him sing, you know it's Terrible Wife and not Telephone Line. You can't hear it as anything else. And so it goes. So you've got Evil Woman. So this is a guy, Jeff Lynne obviously doesn't like women. You've got Evil Woman on the first album, and you've got Terrible Wife on the second album, on this album. So there you go. And I think that's, again, is a masterpiece as a pop song. And then Rock Aria, I had as my second favourite ELO song of all time, but only by a slither. 3 brilliant songs. And in fact, side 1 is epic in my view, because I think Mission's really good to finish it off. Side 2 is just as good. And if I was going to single out songs on side 2, Living Thing, again, a brilliant pop song. And I think Do Ya is a good song. So it doesn't matter if it's the Move, ELO, Ace. Even if I played it tomorrow myself, it'd still be a good song. If
the Parish was sitting in the corner of his room just humming it,
it would be a good song. Exactly. So, and I can't sing, but it would still be a good song. So from that point of view, I still think it's one of the best songs on the album. And the other thing I would say about it, if you want to get a feel for what ELO were like in their peak, watch the videos of Rock Aria and Living Thing, which have got basic. I mean, they're not playing live to an audience, but it's essentially live footage of them playing, and you can see what the band were like and how amazing they were on stage at the time, with all of the violinists and cellists all running around the stage. And as I said before, it was those videos that inspired me as a teenager to take up playing the cello at school, because I thought it was very rock and roll. It doesn't sound very rock and roll nowadays, does it, talking about the cello, but it did at the time. So I think this is brilliant. I don't know if I can give this score, because I don't know if you're going to allow me, Grant. But on the basis that this is a 10 out of 10 album,
yes,
and Marco only gave it 9, I'm going to give it 11 to balance it out.
All right.
Turn it up to 11.
We can go with 11.
It's 11 out of 10 in my view.
Damn.
So we got 11, 9, and 9.5.
Damn. All right. I have a question for Marco.
You look like you want to disagree, Marco.
Marcos.
Yeah, honestly, like if you compare it to like the discography, like in context of the ELO discography, it's probably a 10 out of 10. Like it's probably like a perfect ELO album. I mean, I'm kind of comparing it to like albums in general, and it's a 9 out of 10, you know, and I really like this album.
I'm only pulling your leg.
That's what we're supposed to do, Marco. Compare it to all albums. Yeah.
No. If you compare it with all the other albums, it's still an 11 out of 10. There's a few that are 12 out of 10s, I'll give you that, but it's still an 11 out of 10.
Grant,
That's shitty. My teachers never gave me an 11 out of 10 on any. Well, it's you, Sydney. Come on. You never probably even got a 10. What?
Well, I was lucky because my teachers frequently gave me 10 out of 10. They just forgot to put that 1 at the front. I don't quite understand what that was. But
all right. Marco, I have a question since you've read that book. What does it go elaborate on why Jeff decided to remake Do You for this record? Was there anything written about that?
Yeah, it did talk about it in the book, actually. And for whatever reason, it was like the only song that they played live. I don't remember why they said that was.
I got something.
Go ahead.
It says, sorry. It said Bevan said they decided to re-record it to let everyone know it was a Jeff Lynne song because of Todd Rundgren playing it and that's right out of Wiki.
That's on Another Life.
Yeah. That's right. So in the book, Bev says, or somebody says that basically like Do Ya, even when they recorded it as The Move, was kind of a Jeff Lynne song anyways. So there was this, I guess they wanted to separate ELO from The Move as much as possible. Well, that's why they never did any Move songs. But for some reason, they gave this one a pass because I think they kind of just thought like, well, it was kind of a Jeff Lynne song anyway. But that was kind of the feeling that I got from reading the book. So that's why that one got a pass. And it was a hit. Like it did well in the States and stuff when they played it live, whenever. So,
yeah.
And I don't hate the song. I actually like it a lot. It's just, for me, it's the low point of the album because it's already a recycled song. You know what I mean? We've heard it before, So for me, it's like compared to the rest of the album, it's just something, Yeah,
I suppose technically it's a cover version, isn't it?
But when you're like 7 years old, though, you have no idea that the Move, or 8 or
the Move never took off here, so it was new to everybody.
Oh yeah, I never heard that. I didn't know the Move did it till 2005.
Yeah, here's a quote directly from Bev from the book. As Bev remarked, so we figured we should give it a go. It is Jeff's song after all. We always said that we'd never do any Move material on stage because we really had no connection to it anymore. But we found that it's immensely popular on stage. We just hit the opening chords and people went crazy. We kept the arrangement pretty much intact from the original, but I think it's more powerful, especially with the strings. The middle part is really something with the strings undercutting it. So that's what he said about them doing Do Ya.
Yeah, so I've just looked it up on Wikipedia. Do Ya was actually the B-side to California Man.
Okay.
So it was never a single. It was a single, but not a. So it was a hit, but as the B-side. But for some reason in America, they picked up on the B-side, and that's why it was a minor hit in America because the radio stations were playing Do Ya more than they were playing California Man.
Cool.
So therefore, it was a minor hit in the States.
Yeah. Cool.
What do you think? Do you think that ELO? I know we're talking about Do Ya. Do you think ELO improved on the original Move version? Throwing it out to the panel.
I like them both. I mean the first one's rawer, and it's a little more. I don't know. It's thicker sounding, and then the ELO's version is more produced and
it's a bit slicker.
It's slicker, yeah, and it's more ready for the radio. I mean, it's more like a single, I think. Yeah.
I think I kind of prefer the original, and that's kind of part of the reason why it brings the album down a little bit for me as well. And I think Bev even said it's pretty much, other than the strings, which they added, they kept the arrangement pretty much the same.
Yeah. They didn't really improve on it.
And I think it is overproduced.
I think for me, quite often in these cases, the first version you hear is the one you like best, isn't it? Because that's the one you're used to. And the first version I heard was the ELO version. I only heard the Move version later. So for me, it is the definitive version. But yeah, it's ironic that it was a B-side and not, because I always thought it was a single. It was only just looking it up there that it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think it charted here, at all, other than the ELO version. So, all right. So now we were on a tangent. Now I forgot I haven't even given mine yet. No.
Your go.
All right. The way I look at it, for this record, I think this is their peak. I have to agree with what the critics say. Tightrope, Telephone Line, Living Thing, So Fine, Do Ya? Okay. Shangri-La is absolutely brilliant. See, on this, I don't think that side 2 falls apart. I don't think anything here is filler. Now, the only thing that I even think's closer to filler is Do Ya because I don't think it was necessarily something they should redo. I think I would have just left it with the Move, but it's Jeff's song. He can do whatever he wants because I don't think they really improved upon the original version. Yeah. That being said, there's nothing wrong with the ELO version by any means. It's a great track to play in concert. It's basic rock and roll. They added strings to this version. That's fine. But I think this record flows very well. I don't think that there's really anything. The low point is Do Ya, just because I'm with Marco. Yeah, you kind of look at it and go, uh-oh, they probably needed another track and they're going back in the catalog of the Move to pull something out. So you could interpret that as Jeff didn't have another track. I don't know.
Don't read Logan's comment, Grant. Solid.
You might as well have said read it as fast as you can.
What? Well, you know what we do with that. Ban the user. Put the user in timeout.
Oh, Lord. There it is. Well,
Not the first time we put him in timeout. Oh, or did I do Logan? Logan call? Oh, I didn't mean to ban Logan. Did I?
No, Logan's the one that said it.
Oh.
It sounds like
I always expect those remarks from Sydney.
It sounds like a Sydney comment.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time I threw Logan out, so he has to be careful. So he's on.
Well, it's almost his bedtime anyway.
Oh,
right?
I know. And when he gets tired, he gets that way. So anyway, I think this is probably the peak because the production's great on this. I think the recording of it is great. I think as ELO went on, I think the record's got, kind of crappy production. If you listen to like those later ones, like the last record from Jeff, Jeff Lindsay ELO, God, it is so muddy and murky that I just think the production just keeps more extreme, more compression, extreme. This still has a lot of breathing room. So I do think that this is the peak. So I'm going to give this one, is it perfect? If it didn't have Do Ya on it, I'm going to give it a 9. I can't give it a perfect rating though. In
which case I'm upgrading mine to 12.
I thought Grant was going to say 9.5. I thought he was going to say.
Well, what did I give El Dorado? Do you guys remember?
9 and change. I don't remember.
Something. I kind of think that El Dorado is like really where it's at. But
that's Logan's favorite, so you better let him back in.
Well, he'll be back after he times out. After he's, times out in the corner. Cretan says almost the peak. Still some amazing albums to come. All right. So, we're at almost an hour. All right, everybody. I am ready. I've got everybody's score already that's given me okay, here we go.
Steven
a 10. All right. I've got Ken White's 8.5. Okay. Gary Joyce, the principal's going 9.5 on this dog.
Gary knows.
Gary knows, evidently. Ultraviolet, 8.5.
Somebody's shuffling.
Cretan evidently knows too, and he's going 9. Nathan's going a 10. God, you people are all over this record. Mr. Sticks is going 9.7.
He throws a 7 in there all the time.
He likes that.
I like it. I
I appreciate it. This is Jeff Kendall's first ELO album, so he has it's a special place in his heart. So he's going to the 9.5. Al's going 9. We got a lot of 9s in this one. Got a lot of 9s. Jukebox, a Quantum Leap, 10. All right. BM Bolt, 8.5.
Not enough guitar for BM Bolt.
Well, he listens to Do Ya over and over again. Pop is going 9. We're getting a lot of numbers on this. Is Mr. Frickin' Frackin', ladies and gentlemen.
Rick's 9.5.
On
Mr. Rick Labonte.
Rick Labonte on here? Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's a professional. Rick is going with a 9, ladies and gentlemen. Rick knows. If there's anybody who does know, it is probably him. Gary Joyce is saying hello. The Rick fan club's going to say hello again. Anyway, everybody got their score, and I think so. All right, Peter got an 8.5. God, we're looking good. Doc wants to say, just say the album is really, really good. Yes, I think it's their peak.
Can I guess the number?
Go ahead, guess.
925.
God, you're pretty. It's 9. 9.2. Well, if we round it up, it'd be a 9.21. I think that's
I
fair.
was almost a math major in college.
Were you?
Yeah, I got an A in calculus too.
Oh well, shit! You should be tallying all this, not me. I'm just a monkey. I have to have a computer. I can't add. I can barely read. I can barely speak. All right, so we got a 9.2. So we got an 8. I guess it was 8.1. 8.1, 9.2. I think that's fair. Gentlemen, what do you think? That's about right?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, cool.
Sounds.
Well, I think we can wrap that dog up. So, gentlemen,
I've got
ahead.
one thing to add, because I said I would say this and then I forgot. There was a reason why this album took off, and there was a DJ in the UK called Kenny Everett, who was a, if you like, the top DJ at the time, and he picked up on Living Thing and started playing it to death, and then he started campaigning and sort of championing ELO generally, saying that they were the best band since the Beatles, and I think his championing of ELO just raised their profile across the UK, because it was all of a sudden it was all over the airwaves. All the record stations were playing them, and they suddenly had a hit. And I think it was Kenny Everett. And in fact, I've heard on an interview Jeff Lynne saying that they owed a lot to Kenny Everett for breaking into the UK. So
cool.
Well, it probably
sometimes that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget to throw out the highest and lowest scores.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're supposed to do?
That's an old math trick. Yeah.
No.
Nah, we don't do that in the warehouse. We're old school.
Can't throw out the 11.
Exactly.
Knucklehead, you're late. How are you? Nice to see you. Greg, I failed remedial calculus. Ooh, my goodness. It's clear. What was I going to say? So, next month we'll be looking at Out of the Blue, I guess, in Discovery. What's the panel's take on Xanadu? I mean, is that something that we should look at? What do you I mean, it's ELO playing everything, but
yeah, I think
why not? Come on. Why not?
We should include it. Yeah, absolutely.
Marco, what do you think?
Sure, why not?
Marco's final say.
But that's 1980, right? So that would be. So we'd look at Out of the Blue and Discovery, and then Xanadu and Time.
Yeah, Time I like a lot.
Grant, can you put up some Olivia Newton-John shots when we talk about Xanadu?
Yes,
maybe?
I can. I'll put the video of Olivia Newton-John on Solid Gold dancing to Physical. That would be what I'd rather have played.
That'll get your viewers up.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, what year was Physical? What year was that? 81?
81, yes.
I remember when I was a wee lad, and I remember we were all standing at my house and Solid Gold came on. And Olivia was doing her thing during the Physical portion. Yeah. And I just remember it made a big impression on my
say no more.
Made a big impression.
Just leave it there.
I will say, for anyone who hasn't seen that, go on YouTube and look up Olivia Newton-John Physical Solid Gold.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. Has to be one of the greatest TV moments in history.
They sprayed her with sweat or sprayed her with mist to make her
whatever. I just still
that was the number one song of 1981. Physical. That was the number one song of the whole year. And I mean, it was the video and it was Solid Gold. I mean, it was the
it kind of was an awakening.
So bringing it back to ELO.
Yes.
When we do the next show, I will have seen ELO live in Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
So
that's fantastic.
I could do a quick review for you of the show.
We'll want a review. Do we think Roy may show up for this?
No.
He might. I mean, it's his hometown.
I know. That's what I'm thinking.
He might be there.
I would kind of hope he and Bevin might be there, but
I don't think
suspect
so.
not.
What? I don't think
not.
Jeff will forgive Bev because he did ELO too.
I will
Well,
bet
maybe.
that Jeff and Bev and Roy won't be on stage, because I really do think ELO is Jeff Lynne, and I really think Jeff Lynne wants to drive that point home. And I think to bring Roy or Bev on, I think gives them too much credit for ELO.
I think you're probably right. It's just it's their last home concert. I mean, they're still paying Hyde Park in London afterwards, but it will be their last Birmingham concert.
I think the ELO fans, I think the Move fans would love to see that.
I would love.
And don't forget,
I would love.
Don't forget, this is the day after the Ozzy Osbourne concert at Villa Park.
Oh,
So
God.
if Sabbath and Ozzy can do it, then why can't ELO? That would be my question.
I think that would be monumental.
I'll say there's probably a better chance of Roy showing up, maybe even coming on stage. I don't know about playing a song, maybe, than Bev, even though Bev was in the band the whole time, pretty much up until ELO Part 2.
I thought you were going to say there was more chance of Roy Wood and Bevin turning up for the Ozzy Osbourne show is what I thought you were going to say.
Maybe.
Hey, Bev played drums for Sabbath.
I mean,
exactly,
remember,
that's why I said it.
Roy got to go on stage in the rock and roll induction, and Bev wasn't there.
That's true.
So,
but
and I mean, I think they said
Roy
there was a scheduling conflict, but I don't know about that.
I don't know about that. But Roy and Jeff have always been
Never
friendly.
sent him the tickets.
We may never know, but I hope he does make an appearance.
But anyway, I will report back and let you know whether there is any special guest stars appearing.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I will. Now the question is, Webb is out of the blue, and Discovery. Are those a couple of records you want to talk about?
Yes, of course.
Well, I don't know. I'm just
To
asking.
be on with you guys? Come on. What a.
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking.
If you'll have me, I will do it.
Logan made a derogatory comment about the host, and you do that, you get thrown out.
Yeah. Hey, just tell me when it is, and I'll be here.
All right. Well, I'll be in the chat. All right. I want to thank everybody for giving your rating. Of course, we do have a winner, a new world record, but Face the Music's a great record. You could if you're starting out here, you could start out with either one. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and keeping it interactive. I want to thank tonight's panel, Webb, Marco, and the Parish of Rock. We will be back next month. And is Webb hosting the next ELO episode?
Oh my God. Come on, guys.
Sydney's a big fan. Thanks, John. I appreciate it.
I tell you, if you do host the next one, you'll become the Bevin of this show. You realise that you'll be pushed aside and never spoken to again.
That's right. You got to watch out.
I would never step on. Are you kidding me? Never step on Grant's toes.
All right, everybody. Thanks. We'll see you. I don't know. I'll send out dates. Everybody have a great. What is today? Tuesday. Jesus. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Yeah. Whew, God. We're not even through the week yet. All right. Logan will be, don't worry about Logan. He's in bed. Logan's in sleep.
Sydney's like a big brother taking care of him. He wants to know.
Yes, but his mom tucked him in. So don't worry about it. Logan is fine. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Keep it clean, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, everybody.